Distribute and combine. So example 1, we're going to solve for m in the equation below. So as we look at this is 33 minus 3m, then in parentheses, right, which is equal to, in parentheses, 9m plus 6, close the parentheses, and we're going to multiply that by 2 for the whole thing. So we can see before we even go ahead and start putting the variable on one side and the numbers on the other, what we're going to be doing is taking this 2 and we're going to need to go ahead and distribute this 2 times this 6 and this 2 times this 9m. Let's go ahead and just rewrite on the left hand side. Then we have 2 times, right, 9m. Well, that is 2 times 9, so that's 18. We just leave m there. And then we have plus 6 times 2, so that's just 12. So as we look at this, right, we have minus 3m and 18m. So let's go ahead and get this all on one side for the m's. So I'm going to go ahead and decide to move this negative 3m or minus 3m to the right hand side of the equation sign. So I'm going to go ahead and add 3m to both sides. So if I get rid of on the left hand side, I just go ahead and bring down the 33 plus 0 is equal to 18m plus 3m. So 18m plus 3m is 21, and then m, and then just plus 12. Right, so that stays the same. So we have the variable on one side, so that's good. Now the only thing is we need to get rid of this 12. So in order to get rid of the 12, we're going to go ahead and subtract 12 on both sides. So this becomes 0. We're left with, on the right-hand side, 21m. 33 minus 12. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So we have 21 is equal to 21m. So how do we solve for m, right? Well, 21 is really looking like this. 21m is really 21 times m. So in order to get rid of this multiplication, right, of this 21, we're going to go ahead and divide by 21 on both sides. So this just becomes 1. Now 21 divided by 21 is also 1, right, on both sides. So we have 1 is equal to 1m, which is really just 1 is equal to m. So that's what our variable is equal to. And we can go ahead and double check this, as we could go ahead and go 33 minus 3, which is 1, 9, 1, plus 6 times 2. We'll just put that in parentheses. So 33 minus 3 times 1, so that's 3. So that's 30 on the left-hand side. Then we have 9 plus 6, so that's 15 times 2, and so that's 30. So we checked it out, and we got the right answer. So let's move on. So we have example 2. We're going to solve for v in the equation below. We have 2, in parentheses, 1 minus 3v is equal to 6, in parentheses, 2v minus 6 plus 2. So the first step, before we even go ahead and start moving things on to opposite sides of the equation, we're going to go ahead and distribute with this parentheses, right? So we have this 2, right? We need to just distribute it times the 1, and then 2 times 3v. On the right hand side, we're going to go 6 times 2v and 6 times 6. So let's go ahead and work that out. So the first one is 2 times 1, so that's just 2. Then we have 2 times this 3v, so that's 2 times 3, so that's 6v, which is equal to 6 times 2v, so that's 12v, and then 6 times this, negative 6, or subtract, right, 6 times 6, so that's 36. And then we just have this plus 2 hanging out. So We could keep this in parentheses, but we don't actually have to either. And we notice on the right-hand side, we could actually simplify before we go ahead and start solving. So we have this minus 36 plus this 2. So we're going to go ahead and combine those two first. So let's go 2 minus 6v, and then 12v, which is equal to minus 36 plus 2. So that's minus 34. So I like to move the variable, right? So we're going to move the variable to one side. Then we're going to move the pure numbers, as we'll call it, to the other side. Right, in steps 1 and 2, it's going to be by adding or subtracting. Then the third step would be to multiply or divide to get variable by itself. Right, so let's go ahead and look. So we have 2 minus 6v is equal to 12v minus 34. So let's go ahead and move the variable to one side. So I'm going to go ahead and go plus 6v on both sides. This gets rid of it on the left-hand side, so we're left with 0. So we have 2 plus 0, which is equal to 12v plus 6v, so that's 18v minus 34. So we did the first step, right? We moved the variable to one side. Now when I say after the first step, I mean after we did this whole distribute, right? A number across the parentheses, and then we combined if there's any like terms on one side of the equal sign, and then we can move on to this part, right? So now we can go ahead and add 34 to both sides. So we're going to add it to the 2, because really 2 plus 0 is just 2, right? We don't need to add to the 0. So on the right-hand side, we have just 18v plus 0. On the left-hand side, we have 2 plus 34. So that's 36. Then, in order to solve for v, right, because we just did this step, we're going to go ahead and either multiply or divide to get the variable by itself. But we see that this is 18 times v, so we're going to go ahead and divide. We're always going to do the opposite. So we're going to get rid of this by dividing by 18. This becomes 1. On the left-hand side, we have to also divide by 18. So 36 divided by 18 is 2. So v is equal to 2, and that would be our solution.